India is one of the largest producers of food grains, and yet we see so much incidences of malnourishment and health problems for kids, which are stemming from lack of availability of nutrition essentially. One of the greatest way to solve this particular problem was an initiative called Midday Meal Program that we all know. But the running the entire set of this midday meal program, ensuring that so many kids are fed cooked meal and cooked on the school premises, it's a huge operational challenge. And the way governments deal with this, headmasters are responsible for cooking these meals and monitoring and making sure that the resources or the ingredients that are needed to cook these meals reach a school on time. It's a big challenge. Another set of challenge is essentially how to monitor when these meals are being cooked, when these are not being cooked, if they are cooked, how many students are fed, and so on. And this information gathering happens through the headmasters themselves and a bunch of other bureaucratic positions who collect this data and submit to the government, and then the government assesses what fraction of the schools are supplying these meals and so on. The problem with these data is that these are disaggregated and they are collected not on regular intervals. So there's a huge time gap between these performance measures. So given that data has become so cheap these days and almost ubiquitous, so one can think of collecting this data on much more regular interval about whether schools are providing these meals regularly or not, and if not, probably what are the reasons behind it. So our research shows that the mere collection of this data on a regular interval for all the schools in one particular states is could potentially increase the efficiency of the system and increase the number of kids that are being fed and the frequency in which they are being fed, the quality of the food, all of these increases, and the cost of these interventions are not that much. So efficient monitoring need not be monitoring, just collection of data on regular intervals can improve the provision of public service delivery, and in our case it is midday meals program. And then we try to look at what were the initial sources of inefficiencies and try to pin it down to the technology and how does it solve it. So the technology that the government used is very common. It's called interactive voice response system, and it essentially has a database. The government has a database of all headmasters' phone numbers, and it calls every teacher in every primary and upper primary school in Bihar every single day and asks them 3 simple questions. The first question is whether you cooked meals or not, and the way to answer this question is by pressing a number 0 or 1, and it doesn't really matter whether the headmaster has a smartphone or a feature phone. So it operates on any devices, and the software collects this information, and if they have cooked meal, for how many kids, and if they did not cook food, what were the reasons why food was not cooked. And all these information is collected by a central server, and then they are summarized and provided on a web interface where the management can then look at these daily reports, and these reports are clickable so that you can click and look at provision data at the school level daily, which is tremendous amount of data being collected through a very simple technology, and per data, the cost of collection of data is really minimum. So you can collect data, real time data from every school, very disaggregated level with very small minimum amount of resources, and that effort to collect data itself can improve provision of meal and its quality.